My name is Zhuge Liang. In the year 181, I was born in Shandong Langyayangdu. I have a very tragic background. My mother died when I was 3, and my father passed away when I was 8. After my family fell into decline, my brothers and I had to start considering our future lives. Several years later, I learned that a warlord named Cao Cao, to avenge his father's death, carried out a massacre on the people of Xuzhou, which naturally also affected Shandong Langya. It was at this time that my uncle Zhuge Liang took us to Lujiang to avoid the chaos, and he also became the prefect of Yujiang. Perhaps it was during this time that Cao Cao's indiscriminate killing of innocents and Liu Bei's unwavering rescue of Xuzhou left a deep impression on me. However, the misfortune of the Zhuge family did not stop. My uncle Zhuge Liang was dismissed shortly after taking office, and I had no choice but to continue migrating south with him, seeking refuge with Liu Bei. Misfortunes never come singly. When we arrived in Nanyang, Zhuge Liang fell seriously ill and eventually passed away. The doctor treating my uncle was called Zhang Zhongjing, known as the Saint of Medicine, but even saints sometimes fail. At that time, I was only 17. My oldest brother Zhuge Jing was unwilling to seek refuge with Liu Bei, so he settled our family in Nanyang and went to Jiangdong to seek opportunities. From the age of 17, I lived in seclusion in Longzhong, Nanyang, until I emerged at 27. These 10 years were probably the most important years of my life. Many people did not mention what I did during these 10 years. Let me tell you. First, my 2 sisters got married, one to Jing Qi of the Jing clan, and the other to Pang Shanmin, the son of Pang Degong and the cousin of Feng Chu Pangtong. The Pang Jing families were both prominent clans in Jingzhou, and Pang Degong was also a famous hermit at that time. It was from him that I received the name Wolong, which would later resound throughout the land. After my 2 sisters got married, I married a woman from the Huang family. This lady was no ordinary woman. Although her appearance was not particularly attractive, she was proficient in astronomy, geography, and the occult, and was also keen on inventing. My later invention, the wooden ox and flowing horse, owed much to her. Besides farming and resolving marriage issues, the most important thing I did during these 10 years was traveling, or more precisely, poor traveling. When Liu Bei made his 3 visits to my cottage, I used this excuse twice to brush him off. I really enjoyed the famous mountains and rivers. During my travels, I immersed myself in nature, observed many beautiful landscapes, recorded the customs and traditions of various places, and studied the terrain to prepare for future governance and military campaigns. During my travels, I also met many famous hermits and like-minded friends, such as Pang Tong and Xu Shu. I also encountered my mentor, Water Mirror Mister, whose real name was Sima Hui. More accurately, our relationship was one of both teacher and friend. Although I had several mentors, I respected him the most. In my spare time, I played the zither for my own amusement. Historical records note that I enjoyed playing the Liangfu chant. Amidst the mountains, rivers, music, and friends, though my hands held farming tools and played the zither, my ambition was for a broader world, and 10 years passed just like that. When I was 27, I met Liu Bei. Although I lived in a thatched cottage every day, I was deeply concerned about state affairs. I had profound knowledge and particularly loved studying military strategy. Liu Bei, aware of my talents, made a special trip to Longzhong to visit me. But that day, I had gone out and my servant told him that I was not in. Liu Bei could only leave disappointed. Soon after, Liu Bei, along with Guan Yu and Zhang Fei, braved heavy snow to visit me a second time. However, when they knocked on the door, my servant again informed them that I had gone out traveling. At that time, Zhang Fei expressed his dissatisfaction, saying that Zhuge Liang had been invited twice without success, and suggested they should not come again. Liu Bei could only leave a letter expressing his admiration for me and his hope that I could assist him. Liu Bei fasted for 3 days before preparing to visit me again. On the 3rd visit, he found that I had not gone out but I was sleeping. Liu Bei dared not disturb me and stood waiting until I woke up. This story is now known as the 3 visits to the cottage, and my vow to him marked my commitment for life. At that time, Liu Bei was nearly 50 and had suffered many defeats. I told him that we must first capture Jingzhou and Yizhou, then ally with Dongwu, and finally launch a northern expedition when the situation changes. Liu Bei agreed deeply and immediately invited me to come out of seclusion. I was 27 years old. In the Longzhong Plan, I stated that Jingzhou, with its strategic importance and accessibility in all directions, was crucial, yet its lord could not defend it. Although Jingzhou, under Liu Biao, had not been affected by the wars in central China, it could not be defended due to Liu Biao favoritism toward his youngest son Liu Cong, born of his wife Mrs. Ai, and his dislike for his eldest son Liu Qi. To avoid disaster, Liu Qi sought my help. Sincerely, he asked for my assistance, and I recommended he go to Xiakou, where he became the prefect of Jiangxia. Soon after Liu Biao passed away, Cao Cao launched a southern expedition, and Liu Cong surrendered directly. Cao Cao effortlessly captured Jingzhou, putting Liu Bei in great danger. The crisis was sudden. When Liu Bei received the news, Cao Cao was already close. In this critical moment, Liu Bei sought my advice. After careful consideration, I suggested attacking Liu Cong to take Jingzhou, but Liu Bei disagreed. Thus, under Cao Cao's pursuit, we embarked on a thrilling adventure. The famous episodes 7 Exits and 7 Entries and Crossing the River with Civilians from the Romance of the Three Kingdoms originated here. At that time, the phrase, taking office during military defeat, fulfilling duty amid danger, described our situation. I crossed the river and persuaded Sun Quan, forming an alliance with Liu Bei to resist Cao Cao. The Battle of赤壁was about to begin. Although Cao Cao claimed to have 800,000 troops and appeared formidable, his actual forces were much smaller. Moreover, most of his soldiers were from the north and were unaccustomed to the southern climate. The newly surrendered Jingzhou troops were also unreliable. Under the fire attack strategies of Zhou Yu and Huang Gai, Cao Cao suffered a crushing defeat, leaving behind 7 counties of Jingzhou as spoils for Sun Quan and Liu Bei. I assisted Liu Bei in capturing Linling, Wuling, Guiyang, and Tangsha, and after advancing into Nanjun from Dongwu, we controlled most of Jingzhou, marking the formation of the Three Kingdoms. From repeated defeats to vying with Sun Quan and Cao Cao, Liu Bei often said, "Zhuge Liang, your contributions are immense." In the year 211, Liu Bei, invited by Liu Zhang, entered Yizhou to help him fight Zhang Lu, leaving me to guard Jingzhou. Soon after, Liu Zhang discovered that Zhang Song was colluding with Liu Bei and killed him. Liu Bei then attacked Chengdu. At that time, Feng Zhu Pang was killed in battle, so I led Zhang Fei and Zhao Yun into Chuan while leaving Guan Yu to guard Jingzhou. In the year 214, Liu Bei joined forces with me, besieging Chengdu, and Liu Zhang was forced to surrender. During the subsequent Battle of Hanzhong, I stayed in Chengdu to ensure logistics and supplies, enabling Liu Bei to defeat Cao Cao and capture Hanzhong, becoming the king of Hanzhong. During this time, Sun Quan was dissatisfied, feeling that Liu Bei had held Jingzhou for too long without returning it. He then ordered Lu Meng to attack Liu Bei, and at that moment, Guan Yu was attacking Fancheng, aiming at Xuchang. Lu Meng crossed the river in white garments, attacking Jiangling. Guan Yu was caught off guard and eventually killed by Lu Meng's subordinates. When the news reached Liu Bei, he was heartbroken and decided to sever ties with the Sun Quan. Not long after, Cao Cao died, and Cao Pi usurped the throne. I persuaded Liu Bei to declare himself emperor, which I referred to as the time of change. However, having lost Jingzhou, could the northern expedition still succeed? In the year 221, Liu Bei declared himself emperor, establishing the country known as Da Han, historically known as Shu Han. I was appointed prime minister. Not long after, Zhang Fei was also killed by his subordinates Zhang Da and Fan Qiang. These two men took a Zhang Fei head to Sun Quan. With old and new grudges combined, Liu Bei resolved to attack Wu. Seeing Liu Bei's furious expression, I wanted to dissuade him, but I knew it was impossible. Brothers of Taoyuan for one day and brothers for life, this battle had to be fought by Liu Bei. In the year 222, Liu Bei suffered a crushing defeat at the Battle of Yiling and retreated to Baidicheng. Before his death, he entrusted his son Liu Shantu to me, saying, "If my son can be assisted, then assist him. If he proves incompetent, you may take the throne yourself." How could I take it? I am loyal to you alone. After Liu Bei's death, I personally handled everything, restored relations with Dongwu, and resumed plans for the northern expedition. In the year 227, I launched my first northern expedition. Before leaving, I wrote the memorial of departure to reassure Liu Shaim. The late emperor entrusted me with unfinished business. Now the empire is divided into 3, and Yizhou is in dire straits. This is indeed a critical time of survival or destruction. Be close to virtuous ministers and keep away from petty people. This is why the Han dynasty prospered. Be close to petty people and keep away from virtuous ministers. This is why the later Han dynasty declined. After writing the memorial, I formally began the northern expedition. At that time, Cao Wei dispatched General Cao Zhen to fight, and the 3 counties of Na'an, Tianshui, and Anding surrendered to Shu Han. I achieved a great victory, shaking Guanzhong. In the year 229, I captured the 2 counties of Wudu and Yinping. That year, Sun Quan declared himself emperor, formally establishing the 3 kingdoms. 2 years later, I set out for Qishan again, using wooden ox and flowing horse to transport grain. At that time, Cao Pi was seriously ill, and Sima Yi held full power. Facing my attack, he remained defensive and did not engage in battle, leaving me no choice. In our era, insufficient logistics and difficult grain transport were significant challenges hindering my northern expeditions. Thus, I spent another 3 years accumulating grain and training troops, preparing for the next northern expedition. In the year 234, I set out on the northern expedition again, camping at Wuzhaoyuan. Both sides confronted each other, and during the day, I repeatedly sent people to challenge, but Sima Yi remained defensive and did not engage. Not long after, I fell ill and died in the camp at the age of 54. I was buried at Dingjunshan. Oh, boundless heavens, why are you so unfair to me? The falling star at Wuzhaoyuan never had another chance to return. If given another 5 or 10 years, how many more miracles could he have created? How many pioneering feats? No one knows. I still remember that night, the low sobs spreading throughout the camp. The ancient legend who overcame countless hardships had no match in the world, except for time. He only lost this once. Oh, boundless heavens, who can understand me? Oh, boundless heavens, why are you so unfair to me? Only the undying spirit remains, wandering over Wuzhaoyuan and Baidicheng. They look at each other again, soaring into the sky, nurturing the unyielding spirit that has endured for thousands of years.